Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're heading deep into the mountains of northwest Vietnam to chase down a really mysterious local legend. It's a story that seriously blurs the line between spooky folklore and some pretty surprising science.
So let's just get right into it. This story comes from the Thai ethnic communities there, and it's all about something they call Phi Phong. Now, I know, it sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, right? But stick with me, because the real story, well, it's way more interesting. Okay, so let's break this down. First up, the legend's eerie glow. We're going to investigate the myth itself. See, the story always describes a young Thai ethnic girl who, well, she has some pretty specific and frankly unsettling characteristics that only show up after the sun goes down.
So according to the folklore, these are the key traits. During the day, totally normal person. You wouldn't look twice. But at night, something changes. They're drawn to livestock shelters, they supposedly drain blood from the animals, and, this is the really weird part, their nostrils start to glow. I mean, come on. That raises the big question, right? How could any of this possibly be real?
All right, to solve this thing, we need to think like detectives. We need clues. And our very first clue is all about those cravings. It turns out there's a surprising and totally medical explanation for this supposedly supernatural thirst for blood.
So what's behind it? Well, to figure that out, we have to look at body chemistry. The answer is actually a recognized medical disorder. And get this, it's often kicked off by a really common nutritional problem.
The condition is called pica syndrome. Basically, it's what happens when your body is so starved for essential minerals, like iron, that it starts sending out these incredibly powerful and, bizarre signals for them. It can make a person crave things like dirt or clay, or in this case, it makes them seek out the most iron-packed thing they can find.
And what's so fascinating is how it's this clear biological chain reaction. It's like a set of dominoes. You start with the simple lack of iron. That messes with your brain's reward system, which then creates this powerful compulsive drive to find the very thing you're missing. So suddenly, this mysterious vampiric craving just becomes a logical, predictable result of malnutrition. Wild, right?
Okay, so the craving part makes sense now. But what about that eerie glowing light? That's still a huge mystery. For our second clue, we have to zoom way in, down to the microscopic level. We need to look at bacteria. Let's find out where that strange glow is really coming from.
And to find that answer, our investigation has to leave human biology for a minute and dive headfirst into the microscopic world. We're talking about the soil, the mud, the animal pens, exactly the kind of places where the legend says all this stuff happens.
And here we meet our prime suspect, number 2, a bacterium called Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Now this little guy is super common. You find it everywhere, in damp environments. So you can imagine if someone is spending time around livestock, they're almost guaranteed to come into contact with it. And it just so happens to love colonizing warm, moist places, like, say, the inside of a human nose.
And this is where it gets really cool. This bacterium doesn't just hang out in the nose. When the conditions are just right, it actually creates its own light source. It does this by producing a special molecule called pyoverdine.
Okay, and here is the absolute clincher. The whole point of pyoverdine is to help the bacteria find iron. It works by absorbing any faint light around it, think moonlight or starlight, and then it shoots that energy back out as a visible green glow. But here's the key. The bacteria produce more of this stuff when iron is hard to find. So you see what's happening? A person with an iron deficiency doesn't just crave iron, they literally create the perfect storm for this bacterium to glow even brighter as it searches for the exact same thing. It's an incredible connection.
So there we have it. Our two big clues are on the table. We have a behavioral craving driven by an iron deficiency, and we have a glowing bacterium that just loves an iron-deficient environment. It's time to put it all together. Let's connect the dots and finally solve this thing.
And there it is, a complete, step-by-step scientific explanation for a spooky legend. It all kicks off with something as simple as a lack of iron. That causes the pica behavior, which sends the person into the exact environment where they pick up the bacteria. The bacteria set up shop in the nose, and, fueled by that very same iron deficiency, they start producing the pigment that glows in the dark. Every single piece of the legend explained.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What happens when you shift from folklore to science? Well, I think the most important thing is this. By understanding the biology, a terrifying monster becomes a patient.
a person with a completely treatable condition.
And this really just lays it all out nice and simple. The two scariest parts of the whole legend, the blood craving and the glowing nostrils, they're not curses. They can be fixed with really simple, effective things. We're talking iron supplements and basic nasal hygiene. The monster just turns out to be a person who needs some iron and maybe a good nasal rinse.
And you know what? The fix is surprisingly fast and easy. That number, 2 to 3 months, that's usually all it takes for iron supplements to fix the deficiency. And once the body's iron levels are back to normal, those peak of cravings, they pretty much always vanish, completely.
You know, the story of Phi Phong is such a powerful reminder of what science can do. It can take something that's been feared for generations and replace that fear with understanding. It really makes you wonder, right? What other ancient myths and spooky stories are out there that are just waiting for a scientific explanation? What other secrets are just hiding in plain sight within our oldest tales?